It's a little bit windy today, so hopefully the audio comes out okay. But if it doesn't, then I'll just voice over some of this. But basically today what I'm going to be doing is comparing the two engines. So this is the 2.3 liter Duratec out of the Ford Ranger, and this is the 2.5 Ford Duratec out of the Ford Fusion. So this is a 2004 block and this is a 2017. We're just going to go ahead and right off the bat, looking at the engines, there's quite a few things that are different that will need to be either swapped over or changed. So here, just looking at it, you've got the crank pulley of the Ranger here, right? And compared to the Fusion one, this one's a lot smaller, and also the belt is different. There's room for two belts here, probably one for accessory drive and one for the main. And then on this crank, there only is one, and it's also smaller than the 2.5. The other thing that's different here is the water pump is a different style, it seems like. So here, also the pulley is a different size, and this one's a lot larger at like 5 inches. So in order for the belt to run properly, I would at the very least need to swap the pulleys over. But then this tube here that snakes to the back to this plastic, whatever this thing is, doesn't exist on the Ranger. It's a different style. So here, as you can see, that tube, which is this tube right here, comes in to this guy, and this sensor looks like it's broken. Yeah, it's broken really bad. This tube, right, goes, and this would go to the radiator. But on this guy, it goes into this contraption here, this plastic contraption. There's some things that come out of it, and I'm guessing this tube right here would go to the radiator instead of having this long neck thing that, you know, kind of arcs around. And also the sensor here, but this sensor is clocked in a different position. As you can see, it's pointing that way. On the Fusion motor, it's pointing this way. And there's an outlet here at the bottom. Looks like there's only one outlet. And this guy, I guess, has one, so I guess that might be the same thing here, the same kind of outlet deal. But I think I might just swap this guy over to here. And so the oil filter mount assembly looks to be the same. I took it off on this engine so I could put it on this this crate here. It used to be here, right? You can see down there. And I believe they're the same, so I could probably just reuse either the Ranger one or the Fusion one. But the mounts look like they exist on both blocks, so I could just swap over the mounts real quick. Here, right? The Fusion motor has this extra sort of dealie here. I don't know exactly what this is for. Yeah, I don't know what this is for, actually. So this can probably go, because it doesn't exist on the Ranger motor. Here, there used to be some kind of bracket that didn't really hold anything. And also, whatever this idler pulley is here, looks like it's not used, it's just an idler pulley. And here, this is actually the fan belt, or the fan pulley. So I think this would need to be swapped over. And then as far as the front cover goes, the timing covers also look different. Yeah, there's like bolts in different places here, like the shape of this side where the bolts are here does not match the bolt pattern over here. So hopefully this timing cover will also just sort of, you know, replace this one, because this one also has engine mounts here because it's a transverse engine, east to west configuration, whereas it doesn't exist on the Ranger and would be pretty useless to have, you know, engine mounts here for no reason. So it looks like I'm gonna have to swap the timing cover over as well. And looking at the accessory bracket, so this is where the AC would be, and what else? I don't remember. Oh, the alternator. also attaches over here. So this is what these bolts are right here, sticking out. So let's see if there's a place to plug those in. Yeah, it sort of looks like the same bolt holes exist for those, which is good. I can reuse that. And then obviously this was an automatic, an engine out of an automatic, so there's no pilot bearing, so I might have to either buy a new pilot bearing or take it out of this one and stick it in there. Might as well just buy a new one if it needs one. So it kind of looks like, besides the block, let's look at some of this junk on the side here. We have this sort of contraption here. This is probably the PCV valve connector. And so let's see if that kind of stuff, what that looks like on the Ranger engine. It has a similar plastic looking thing back here. It's really dirty, but there is one back there. Obviously the oil pan and the oil pickup will have to be swapped over. And I have a new oil pan actually for the Ranger because this one was leaking. That's what ended up causing the spun bearing in the first place. The Fusion motor obviously has a VCT, which the Rangers didn't. Right, it looks like this sensor is cracked, so that'll have to be replaced. And that's a different shape from the Ranger. This only has one bolt. This is held in by one bolt, but it's like a teardrop shape. And this one is a teardrop shape, but yeah, I guess this could work. It's just turned, it's clocked a different direction. But I have to plug this VCT thing up. But maybe I could use this valve cover to retain this style oil dipstick versus on this side, the oil dipstick is off to the side. So that's something I'm just gonna look at. The PCV or whatever this thing is, the breather, is in a different place because on this one it's over here, and this is also cut, so I won't be able to reuse this connector. But I could reuse this hose here, but I don't know if it'll reach. Actually, it might be too short, so it might be safer to just swap all the Ranger components pretty much over. I don't think I need this thing either because that doesn't exist on this block down here. But as you can see, that's kind of the differences between the two blocks. Obviously the intake ports are larger on the 2.5. That's pretty much the differences on the exhaust side. The ports are the same between the two engines here, right? You can see here, valve cover differences. This is where the ignition coil would go. So I think I definitely have to use this valve cover, or else I'd have to come up with a custom solution for the ignition coil. Just to summarize, the front side engine cover, the pulleys are very different from the 2.3 Duratec out of the Ranger. This is normally a north-south configuration, so longitudinal, also transverse. So if you're looking at to see the differences between a 2.3, like a Mazda engine, Mazda 3, or I don't know, an Escape or something, those are transversely mounted. So obviously they might be more similar to this one, but this is for the north-south versus the east-west, and the 2.3 versus the 2.5. So the main differences I see, like I said, are the crank pulley is larger, and the teeth and the sensor on the crank pulley are different. So that definitely needs to be replaced. And then the pulley for the water pump is different. Hopefully it's just a swap of the pulley. That will make that work. And also the fan pulley does not exist on the Fusion block because they probably have an electric fan or something, and this idler pulley here does not exist on the Ranger. So definitely have to swap the front covers and associated accessories that go with that. It looks like the rest of the accessories will just bolt in where they go on the Ranger that I did not pull out of the chassis here. Let's see if I can get this open. Yeah. So on the chassis here, I left the power steering and the fuel rail and the AC in the car without taking them out. So it looks like that stuff will just go back together pretty easily. no mess. Looks like this PCV sort of assembly thing are pretty much the same. The water pump, the design of it is slightly different between the two cars, especially the housing is different for sure. But I don't think it's different enough where it would warrant swapping them out. Just the pulley, if that's possible. And it looks like it might be. Just, you know, remove these 3 bolts on the smaller one, 3 bolts on the bigger one, and just swap, you know, this one for that one, basically. And then, so that's the front of the engine. And on the exhaust side, there's nothing really to look at other than the crank position sensor. So that'll have to, looks like this one just needs to be replaced with the 2.5 crank position sensor. On the intake side, like we looked at, was the PCV, water pump. The fuel rail, it's still in the car, so I'm just going to use the stock fuel rail. They don't look to be that different, actually. Let's see. This is about, I don't know, like 1.5 inches wide versus 1 inch tall. So let's go ahead and look at the fuel rail in here. It looks to be about the same size, you know, honestly. The design's a little different. It's got a little hose at the end, little U hose you can see there. Kind of hooks out. I would point at it, but I'm holding the hood up with my other arm, so it can't do that. But I do have the injectors intact on this block, so if I need to, I can swap the injectors. It looks like the connectors are the same, hopefully. So in the future, if I need to do that, I can do that. This fuel rail is a lot cleaner, so I'll try cleaning the old one, just because it doesn't have that bend here. So basically, on the existing one, this little tube here bends out, so that just probably makes the install a lot easier. So I'm just gonna leave it. And so the back of the engine, the differences are, you have this neck thingy, coolant neck, whereas this one does not have that. It has some plastic thingy. So definitely gonna have to bring that over here. And then this sensor looks to be the same, it's just clocked differently. Like on this side it's clocked this way. So I think I'm just gonna swap that over to make the install a lot easier. Just so it's kind of the same, right? Even though this one looks a lot newer and nicer. So maybe I can Frankenstein them together somehow and take parts of this one and, you know, put them in this one, kind of thing, just make it slightly newer. But I don't think it really matters, and I think the oil thing, they're both kind of the same for the most part. So yeah, thanks for watching.